Okay, my let's keep it real people. We don't do this that often. They don't even know the secret. Normally, you can't see my guest. It's all audio. But when I looked up Abs and Mag, I was like, I got to see these ladies and get them on screen. So here they are. Woohoo!
She really gave us no warning, so we did not do any hair or makeup.
This is how we always, anyone who
Oh,
follows
stop.
the Anxiety Sisters knows this is how we always look.
This is how we roll.
This is us, baby.
Yeah. So we were just talking about, it was wonderful. It was all great. I just got back from a big family reunion where people haven't seen each other in 20 to 30 years. And for a lot of people, not naming names, it can cause anxiety, right?
We've heard that a time or two.
So
we don't have any personal experience with anxiety-provoking family gatherings. We just don't know what that's like, but we've heard it exists in the world.
well, all right. So before you came on, I want to back up a little second because people, just so you know, I got 100 questions of what to ask the ladies. We're not going to get to them all. So we'll get to a few of them. I love you guys. I started talking to them before I pushed record. I can see I'm going to forget to do this, but I ask every single one of my guests. So you both get different words. One word to best describe your past 30 days. Abs, whatever pops into your head, Mags gets to think about it now and why.
Okay, so I'm going to go with adventurous.
Ooh, ooh.
Because in the last 30 days, for the first time in my whole life, I conquered a fear and I flew over the Atlantic Ocean and went to Europe for the very first time. So I overcame a real phobia that I've had for years and years and years. And my husband and I went with my parents on a whirlwind vacation in Europe, and it was spectacular. And I felt so lucky to have the opportunity and thankful that my parents were paying for it. And also really excited to do something that I was afraid to do.
Okay, that's a big one. If that was something, and where did you go in Europe?
We went to Switzerland, Germany, France, the Netherlands, and Belgium.
Wait, how long were you gone?
3 weeks.
Wow. Mazel tov. That's awesome. Okay. So we got to stay with this just a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay. One was the desire to go stronger than the fear to fly.
Yes.
Okay. Two, what did you do to prep yourself for the flight?
Oh, I was prepping for years. I mean, we're going to talk about spin kits later in the podcast, I'm sure. People always ask us about that, but I carried my spin kit with me. I even made a video of it and put it on our Facebook page so people could see, other anxiety sufferers could see that I walk the walk, man. I tell you that you should carry a spin kit, and I myself do it as well. So I had all kinds of things with me to soothe me. And I also had Ativan with me just in case I had a panic attack, but I'm happy to report that the panic stayed pretty mellow.
Wow.
Pretty mellow. I did a lot of self-talk. I did a lot of breathing. I did some yoga before I got on the plane.
And just to know that it wasn't that this was Abby was not afraid of flying per se. So she flies all over the country. Just because I don't want someone to think like, oh, I'm afraid of flying and my first flight could be to Europe or whatever, because that might be hard.
But I was afraid of flying to Europe. In other words,
Thank you. Thank you for that, sissy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
See, I had a flying phobia for many, many years. There were years where I did not fly anywhere, and I worked through exposure therapy. I worked myself to be able to fly, and now I fly all around the country pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
But I've always been afraid to fly out of the country. I don't know why, but that was part of it for me. So now I can officially say I'm completely a flyer now. Now I can fly wherever.
It was over the pond.
It was going over the ocean. Yeah. It was all over the pond that I was worried about.
Yeah.
You two are like sisters, because she wanted to say, all right, wait a minute, let's back up a second. She does fly, just not there. So that was
cool. We often finish each other's sentences, and we also constantly fight.
You're sisters.
Yes.
Okay, you're up. Mags, Magaroo.
I would say my last 30 days have been, I feel like immersed is the right word, immersed in the things of life.
Okay.
And I say that I can't really figure out another adjective. I'm sure you guys will, but I think because I've had like my son graduating from high school and my niece's wedding in Maine, and
There's a new baby.
and there's a new baby in our my other niece had a baby that I spent time with, at the wedding, and we've like driven 15 hours to Maine, and then I drove home, and then we had a blackout for 3 days in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio. So it was like everything of life. It was like, and I'm trying to help my son register for college and this and that. So it's like everything of life was coming about. So I sort of feel immersed in the, like, sort of the light in the world.
Yeah.
Like immersed in life stuff.
And lots of details. There were lots of details.
Yeah, and then I also, Abbe has helped me. Abbe hired me an organizer.
And she asked for her birthday for an organizer.
This is what I wanted, but Abbe hired one for me, and she has started working with me, and it's been slow because of COVID and blackouts and this and that, but we did like a ton of work on parts of my house, and so it's been really amazing, but a lot of work, like a lot of work. And so it's just like I've been immersed in all these like big things going on.
When you do this, you cover my face with your hand.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking jazz hands again.
Jazz hands. I thought that was a good thing.
It is a good, what, if you could just keep it right
know,
there.
Do mine.
Okay, so we have to have another conversation about the organizer, because I want my friend who's my sister to hire me one for my birthday. Like, how's that work?
This woman that she hired is amazing. Has changed her life.
She's amazing because she's not judgmental, and
that was a good thing.
Yeah, she's not judgmental, and she also really, it's something we try to do in Anxiety Sisters with anxiety, but she does it with organizing, that she really tries to take the time to figure out what will work for me. Not that there's this rule of organizing.
Gotcha.
Because organizers naturally think often a very organized way, and I don't. So she really thinks about, okay, will this work for you, or this work for you, or this?
Amy avoids the word should.
Yeah.
Which is what we do in our book. We avoid the word should, because should is, shoulding all over ourselves is what causes anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we try in our own work not to be prescriptive, because we're very well aware from being sufferers ourselves how hard it is to feel like you can't succeed at yet another thing because someone's telling you something you can do, and it's yet another thing you maybe can't do.
Yeah.
So one thing that's marvelous about this particular organizer is that she meets Maggie where she is. There's no should, there's no shame.
Yeah.
And we try to figure out what's going to help me, not someone else, not her last client.
That's an amazing organizer.
Yeah. She's amazing. I love her. She's wonderful.
What a great gift.
Her name at the end of the podcast.
I can, because she's starting to do stuff online.
Ah. And I have one more question about that. Do you hire per hour? Like, how do you do that?
They all work a little different, but most of them have some sort of package. So they'll say, for this amount of hours, it's this much money, and they'll have different packages that you can get.
Love it. I love that. That's a great gift. Okay. So ladies,
yes.
Are you, I know the answer, but sisters?
We're soul sisters.
Yeah, I get that. I have my soul sister. We call her Sissy Sue. And how did you form that? When did you start calling each other sisters? Like, tell us a little bit about how you met.
Well, we actually met back in college. We went to college in Pennsylvania.
Where did you go?
University of Pennsylvania, because you're a Philly girl, right? And we became, close friends in college. And then really after college, we really became each other's touchstone, I would say. We really stuck by each other. And that was, both of us developed. Well, we had already, we didn't develop, but both of us found that our anxiety disorders became much more intrusive as we sort of went out into the world.
Oh, yeah.
On adult responsibilities. And we were each other's support through our anxiety. There were other ways in which we were each other's support and really close to each other too, but that really gave us a very, very intense bond because we were both
Yeah.
things together.
And we were really not judgmental with each other. Like, I felt that she was the one person that I could call and tell her the real truth of what I was feeling and what I was doing, and she wouldn't make me feel bad about it.
Yeah.
And that was the most healing thing. I mean, we called our 20s the decade of our ists, because we literally went to every ist on the planet. We went to the cardiologist, the neurologist, the therapist, the hypnotist, the past life regressionist, the nutritionist. I mean, you name it. Acupuncture. If it had an ist and they'd take
Oh my God.
we went, because we were suffering so much with our anxiety. As Mag said, it really became debilitating for both of us at different points in our 20s. And so, you know, at one point, Maggie couldn't leave her house. She had so many phobias and so many things that she couldn't do. And I developed really intense obsessions and compulsions with my OCD. So we really were struggling. And even though we were helped by a lot of professionals, we were helped by medication, we were helped by all the techniques that we talk about in our book, one of the most healing things was our connection with each other. And that's why we decided to start the sisterhood, because we wanted other people to have a place where somebody would say to them, you know, I get it. I've been there. I am not judging you. I so understand. You're going to get through it. Here's what worked for me. Here's what didn't work for me. We wanted that sharing thing, because when we do that with each other, it feels like we can get through anything.
You know, I think that's so true, because I see it with a lot of my friends and family, the ones that seem to really excel is that not like, oh, I tried this system, that system, this system. They had that one person, whoever it is in their life, that they could go to. I always said unconditionally, unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. And I always say to my friend, you know, hold that space for them. And that's a beautiful thing. More important than, and you're making me think that's the common thread of all these people that I've seen overcome so many things and heal. And it didn't matter who that person is. It just has to be that one person, in addition to the therapist and the hypnotist and psychiatrist.
It also can be a community of people at times, because that's something we've seen on our Facebook page on Anxiety Sisters so much, or in workshops that we do, or seminars we do, or retreats, is that especially when you're dealing with something like anxiety, but I'm sure it's other things too, but something like anxiety, it's such an isolating and confusing disorder, because it's so physical. And there are also psychological things that happen. And it's so confusing, like, what is going on? Should I be going to the emergency room, or am I okay? Is this? And so having a community of other people who can say, no, I have that too. You're not the only one with numb hands. Or, I mean, it is tremendously helpful. We've been helped so much by our community too, because
I'm sure
more and more people coming together and saying, like, this is a normal thing that happens. You know, this is something that happens, and there are all these different symptoms, and we all understand each other, and that's a very powerful.
You're right.
You know,
you're right. The community. My girlfriend always says to me, even if she didn't have, quote unquote, a happy, normal family, she's formed her own community.
Yes, that's it.
That's it.
That is it.
People that support. So that's what you're talking about too. So in addition to just that one best friend, whomever you talk to, you have formed this community that surrounds you. That's your family and friends, whether your family gets you or not, that you can go to.
I mean, and that's so important, because all the research shows, like all the many research studies show that in terms of just, you know, our health, in terms of our resilience when hard things happen, in terms of longevity, but also like how we live and how satisfied we are with our lives, how meaningful our lives are. Community is perhaps the most important piece that we have.
You know, I was thinking about that with my son who's in high school. We transferred him out of his first high school to the second one, and it's very artsy and it's small. And he decided to be an art major. And when he found his community, he just blossomed. It doesn't matter what the community is,
Yes.
whatever, but he found his.
Find your tribe, your people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, people said to me, what happened? It was like almost in a year he flirted. Well, he couldn't find where he belonged at the other high school.
Yes.
It don't matter what group you're in, you need that group. And he found this group of people that got him, he could talk to, had the same interest, and flourish. So I want to talk about more about this, the community you formed. How long ago have you formed it? When did you start it?
We created our virtual community in February of 2017 is when we went live. We had a website, and that's when we started our Facebook stuff. And I mean, we've been thinking about and we've been doing research and thinking about the community and how we would do it and writing the book and all that stuff since 2010. That's really when we started interviewing people about the experience of anxiety. So this has been the formation of the community, and then the subsequent publication of our book has been 12 years
in the making. Yeah.
It's really been a long project.
I bet you had no idea how big the community would be.
We're still surprised.
Like, oh my God. We knew we'd make an impact, but I think now you're up to like over 200,000 people.
Yeah. And what's really funny is that when we started, I remember begging my brother to join, like, just hit the like button. It doesn't matter. Just hit the like button. He's like, why? I don't even do it. I'm like, please hit the like button. We had to beg people I literally was on my own Facebook page where I only had 100 friends in the world anyway. And I was like, please, would all of you just hit the like button? Because it was, it was crickets over there.
Oh, how long? How long did it take? This is good for people to know.
It feels like it was fast, but maybe it wasn't.
I don't know. Abby knows time and stuff.
Yeah, it grew pretty fast.
It did, but it took us, like, sort of, we had to change some things around to make it to get more usable.
Yeah. Like we definitely had to play with our website a few times to make it, because we were trying to figure out a space for the community. And originally we had it on our website in the form of forums.
Yeah.
And then what happened was all the people on the forums started saying in their notes, they were saying things like, let's meet up on FB.
Yeah.
And so then we were like, all right, well, if they're all leaving our website to meet up on Facebook, let's just be on Facebook, and then they can just come to us there.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing a lot of tweaking. We weren't sure for a while if we were going to strictly do the writing, if we were going to do workshops. We ended up spending a lot of time doing workshops and seminars. We did a retreat that was really fun. So we kind of got into we got really immersed.
Yeah.
But I would say that after the first 500 people, it went fast.
Yeah. And I do want to say to anyone starting anything, we all have the same experiences, which we try a bunch of things and a bunch of things don't work.
Absolutely.
Failure.
It's part of it.
Yes, and you will spend some money and time,
a lot of money and a lot of time.
Think and some expert will tell you, like, do this, and so that is all part of the process.
Yeah, we're always careful to tell people that this has been 12 years in the making. Before our book came out, because it was not something that happened quickly or easily, and there was still a lot of luck too. I mean, we've been really lucky. We're grateful to be successful, but there was definitely a dose of luck, but there was also the piece of us that every year said, oh God, are we going to do this again? Are we going to keep banging our head against it? And every once in a while, one of us would give up. And the other one would say, all right, you can pout. We're going to keep doing this. You pout. I will do this. And we sort of kept pulling each other along. And we were able to start doing it full time in 2017.
Wow.
So from 2010 to 2017, we each had other lives too.
Oh, I was going to ask you that. Did you have other jobs? Like, when did you become all in?
All in 2017 when we turned 50.
Woohoo!
We were like, all right, the second half of our life, we're going to give back.
We were.
Yeah, I know, but we literally meant we were gonna, really focus on making the world a better place, and we really felt that at that point, at 50, we had the wisdom of people who had careers, as well as, so we were experts clinically, as well as people who had walked the walk for their whole lives.
Yeah. Okay, so as far as, I got so many questions that people want to know.
Sure.
How did you feel growing up? They want to know I got about 20
Yes,
questions
those are
on
good
this.
questions.
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
like they want to know, let me make sure I get this right. We'll call her Sally Bell. Did you get family support, or she feels like her family doesn't get her, quote unquote? They seem to they seem to love her, but they just say, get it together and suck it up.
Yeah. Well, the first thing we'll say to the part about get it together and suck it up is that that is coming from a place of truly not understanding.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear that, and I have heard it a lot in my life from my family members. And I have a very loving family.
Yeah.
But it was not a family that understood anxiety. And for a long time, I was very angered by that. And I think that's a very normal reaction, to feel hurt and angry. And I still do get hurt by it. But I think the anger started to dissipate when I began to realize that when people don't understand something, they tend to make you feel bad about it.
Yep.
So that's one thing I would say to Sally is that, yes, we get that. And by the way, we hear about it way more often than the other way. There are way more families that don't understand than there are that do, sadly.
Yeah.
So we say that to Sally, but in terms of our childhoods, I remember having obsessions and compulsions. So OCD, my anxiety, the biggest part of my anxiety. I remember having that at 5 years old, when I used to have to leave the house, go into the garage, and tap the tires of my family car so that we would have a safe ride. In my mind, if I touched each tire.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
But here's the kicker. I never told my family about it. So to answer Sally's question, I did not get diagnosed with OCD until I was 46 years old. So we're talking about 40 years of keeping it to myself. I mean, I shared it with Maggie. But and I didn't have Maggie until I was 18 or 19. But in terms of, and I consider myself to have a really loving family, but I didn't feel they would understand. And so what happened was they read our book, and my mother called me up and she said, I didn't know any of this. She said, I had no idea. I feel so terrible. I must have been the worst mother ever, that you were suffering like this and I didn't know it.
Or notice it.
You couldn't know it. I didn't tell you.
Wow.
I wouldn't share it with you because I didn't think you would understand, and I didn't want to put, that responsibility on you anyway, but it was lonely and difficult. So I understand that. And that's been my experience in terms of, for my child. Maggie's has been different.
Yeah.
I just want to get this straight. 46.
Yeah.
That was when I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder.
She was diagnosed with anxiety.
Oh, I was diagnosed with anxiety in my 20s.
Yeah.
But it was always called panic disorder or, generalized anxiety. And so, and doctors treated me for panic disorder because I definitely had a lot of panic attacks.
Yeah.
But a very astute psychiatrist, whom I still go to this day because he is so smart, said, I'm listening to you talk and I'm thinking that panic is not really your problem. And he changed my life because he changed my medication, and we started focusing on the obsessions and the compulsions, which were truly what was disrupting my life. I mean, I have all kinds of anxiety, phobias and catastrophizing, and I have practically a PhD in catastrophizing. So I feel very well rounded. Like if it was like if it was a gymnastics meet, I would be the all around champion. Like I've done them all, But I do feel that this particular psychiatrist was able to say, what's stopping you from living your life, what's keeping you from being in your own driver's seat, are your obsessions and compulsions. So let's work on that. And ironically, we worked on that, and we've been working on that now for many years. The panic really subsided quite a bit.
Wow. That gives hope to a lot of people. Like it's never too late. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you were 46 and figuring out.
Yeah.
All right. We'll come back to that. All right, Maggie.
Tell Sally, we're telling you, give our book, The Anxiety Sister Survival Guide, to the family, because there's even a part of our book where we really talk about how to discuss anxiety with your family and how to explain it to them.
And how to be supportive if you're a family member of someone who has anxiety and you don't even understand it.
Right.
Awesome.
It really is one of those illnesses that's an invisible illness, but it's every bit as real as having any other kind of illness. It's every bit real. And I think in our culture, you know, if you're not wearing a cast or don't have some other outward,
Presentation,
marker
yeah.
of illness
That you can see.
that you
Yeah.
can see. I mean, you know, we were talking about this a little bit before. It's like if
Yeah.
people can't see something, it's very hard for them to understand that this really is happening in your brain and your body,
Yeah.
which are all one. But I'm not just tooting the horn for our book, but I am saying that we really explain it all. We really lay that out in our book.
And you
And
should
it's
toot
Also
your
a
own
fun
horn.
book, so you know,
Yeah.
it's a good beach read.
Yeah, it might be helpful for them.
Yeah. All right. So now growing up, Mag.
Growing up, I was in a home that was a little bit more. My mother was a social worker, so we were in a home that sort of mental health and psychology was not quite as foreign. Like Abby
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not in that kind of home because they didn't need to be. And
I think they need to be.
well, I mean, they were, but we had certain
Right.
things happening. Like my dad had a very long physical illness, and we had certain things happening that sort of created those circumstances that we were a little more attuned. But I have to say, I grew up in the 70s, and I had really bad separation anxiety.
Anxiety was in the air in your house.
Yeah, it was that's what we say is the anxiety was in the air in my house. But I had a lot of anxiety, and there wasn't as much emphasis on how to treat sort of mild. It wasn't always mild, but I was.
Yeah.
And there wasn't so much an emphasis on always treating it. People didn't catch it often. So, I also grew up not sure kind of what was wrong. Like I knew something wasn't clicking in
Yeah.
correctly, but I didn't know what it was. And so that I really found out in my 20s when I really stopped functioning, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is anxiety and I've always had it. But now I sort of can't move forward. I can't leave my apartment. I can't
Yeah.
go on the elevator. I can't get to work. I can't.
She literally
fly.
couldn't go in the elevator, and she was on the 16th floor of a Manhattan high-rise.
Yeah.
So it was tricky.
Yeah.
It was a very long time, a long season.
So I had to really, I had to, so things really stopped for me in a sense. And and for many years, and I put off, having children, and I put off career things because I really didn't think I was capable of those things while I was having
Absolutely.
anxiety. And,
you used to tell me you didn't think you'd ever be able to have a family. 'Cause she used to tell me, we talked every single day on the phone, and she used to say to me, I just think I'm going to have to live my whole life in this apartment. I don't think I'm going to be able to.
It's Manhattan. You can get Chinese food delivered. I'll be okay. But no, I mean, I thought, I really did think we'd live in that apartment, and I was married. I thought we'd live in that apartment, and I kind of like sort of half live, quarter live, because there would be things you can do. And that's how severe it was for me. And and I definitely empathize with Sally a lot because it's hard to explain it to people.
Yeah. So for you, Maggie, when was the shift then? Like, because you said you were like, this is the way my life's going to be. It's a nice apartment.
It was, I would say, I like to tell people that the shift is not like one day you wake up and I'm okay. The shift was slow. It was a slow shift, but it was, trying all these different
Well, you went
things.
to that psychiatrist she went to a psychiatrist who said to her, you're going to have to do the things you're scared to do.
Yeah, this is exposure therapy.
Yeah.
And I really had to work on that for a long time. And some things were not so bad. Some things like the elevator, although I was going up and down my elevator, staying in it for an hour, and my doorman kept like laughing because I was just going up and down.
The very first time you did it, you were sick to your stomach. You were
no, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that, some of the things were not as hard as others. Now driving.
Oh, the driving was years.
The driving, you get to different levels of comfort. You can do things, and then you keep working on it, working on it, and then you can do them comfortably until you're not afraid anymore. And I would have to say with certain things that took a long time. That took years till I was fully comfortable.
And by the way, you don't have to do it until you're not afraid anymore. Cause like for me, I'm still afraid when I get on an airplane. You want to get to the point where even though you're afraid, it's not going to stop you from doing what you want to do.
Right. Right.
Because I don't want people to think the fear will just miraculously go away.
No.
For most of us, it doesn't completely. I mean, Maggie, I'd have to say with driving, she used to be terrified to drive on highways. And now she drives 15 hours on highways, like in the middle of the night for no reason sometimes. Like she just really.
I was driving home from Maine by my.
No, but I'm just saying that she doesn't mind a long drive on a highway, even more than like I've never had a fear of driving and I don't want to be on a highway as long.
No. Yeah. That's huge.
But I have to say that for some things like flying, for most of us, we may fly, Abby flies quite a bit, but it's not something in your daily life. So
unless you're an anxiety sister that runs a community.
Yeah, but some of the fear might stay. But what happens for a lot of things is with exposure therapy is like you just exposing yourself, and eventually.
Well, what's interesting is that I always had a needle phobia. I was always, Maggie, you were talking about this. We were both always terrified of shots, injections, needles.
Okay.
Freaked us out, right? And ever since the pandemic, I've had so many damn shots now. I'm really not afraid of them. Yes. I mean, I'm not happy about the side effects, but
I know what you mean.
But the actual shot itself, I used to pass out when I would get a shot. Yeah. I used to have to, like, if I'd have to get a shot, I'd have to sit on the floor with pillows because I would say, I'm going to pass out, so I just should be on the floor already.
Yeah.
And now, give me a shot. I'll deal with it. It's like you get used to it. Yeah. You do something often enough. If you're doing it every few months.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And I get the analogy of the driving versus flying because when people get on the highways, they don't say, every time I go into the city, have a safe trip. But if I go on a flight, they're like,
yes.
I hope you're safe. And that's because
you don't fly every day.
Right. It's an unusual thing.
Yeah. Unless,
And it's very crippling to have that, particularly that fear of driving. And we have so many people in our community who either can only drive locally or can't drive on the highway or
can't drive in bridges or tunnels.
Or can't drive at all. And it's a really, in most of America, that's a pretty crippling phobia to have.
Well, I'm just going to mention this a little bit. So I love flying. I don't mind driving small local distances, but I don't enjoy turnpike or fast, highways. Right. And my son wanted to go visit one of his closest friends last summer in Indianapolis. He's like, Mom, let's do road trip. I'm like, okay. He's like, Mom, we'll be fine. I'll talk you through. So it was like,
oh, that's so nice.
You had support. You had a community.
Yeah. So we broke it up so that it was like 6 hours and 6 hours. But there were some times like I got like when you talk about exposure, it was like there was it was a hurricane somewhere at one point and it was affecting us where we were driving. And then there was a tornado and it was like 5 miles white knuckling in rain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, I do.
And I got through. And so there were times he would just say, Mom, just breathe. And he would sing to me. We put podcasts on and it was great. So now this time we went on a family trip and it was a 10-hour drive that I was taking him down. He's like, Mom, you got this. But I want to say, I still got the fear the night before. It wasn't like it was totally gone. I'm like, but I was like, okay, you've done this before. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Right. And it was less, but it was still there.
Of course. And that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying when I said that it doesn't mean you're never going to feel the fear. It just means that you're going to be able to do what you want to do. In other words, we think of anxiety not as a problem because it's human, right? If you're a human being, you've experienced anxiety at some point in your life. It's just part of the process. It's part of, it's like every other emotion, part of what you experience, right? So we only think of anxiety as a real problem when it is in the driver's seat. And when it is determining who you'll see, what you'll do, and where you'll go.
Yeah, what you want to do, what you want to do.
What you want to do.
Right. If you don't want to do something, then if you have anxiety about it, that's fine. But if you want to do something and it's your anxiety that's not allowing it, that's where you want to start working on it. And it is treatable in that way. It's manageable.
Yeah.
And what we tend to do is we tend to shrink our lives. So we tend to, if we're anxiety sisters, we can easily say like, oh, yeah, my friends are going there, but I don't really want to go. It's okay if I don't. Fine without that.
Yeah.
Without going to the beach, my life will be fine, or on that trip. And that we call shrinking world syndrome. Sorry.
You were shrinking my world. I
I
couldn't
was
see
shrinking
anything.
your world. And so, what we kind of say is that's what to be careful of, is
Right.
your world shrinking.
And if you notice that your world is shrinking, then that's a
I
very
love
good
that. I
sign.
love that.
That's a sign. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should attend to this. And what's really great about our book is that it gives you hope. At any time, if you discover I have shrinking world syndrome, that's what we call it, SWS, I have shrinking world syndrome.
I love that. I love that.
Then, okay, then get on Anxiety Sisters and join. It's free, and meet your tribe, and
absolutely
looking at ways that you can incorporate into your life right now to start that process of regaining your own agency.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing. You don't want it holding you back for something you really want to do.
Right.
All right. So then maybe we should start right here. I mean, I should have put this up at the beginning. What is the difference? That's all right. Never too late. Between anxiety and stress, because I do think people get confused. And I did get asked that a lot.
Well, stress is something that it's something that we call cued, meaning that we pretty much can trace a stressor. And as human beings, we all experience stress, right? So if we're feeling stress, someone says to you, Sandy Joy, why are you feeling stressed? You would say, oh, things at work are crazy. Or, oh, my husband's driving me nuts. Or, oh, money situation is
tight. Kid, blah, blah.
Or somebody in the family is sick, I have to take care of them. Whatever it is, right? There's the stressors are things that we can point to that make us feel anxious and stressed out, right? Then there's chronic long-term stress that, maybe being a caretaker, a caregiver over a long period of time for either an ill child or family member or, someone that you're caring for, or racism or poverty, discrimination, having a disability that is really, making things difficult, being really in a situation where you don't have any community or resources at all to help you with anything. That's the type of chronic stress that can actually create an anxiety disorder. Because think about it, if you're constantly living in fight or flight, right? If your whole life is adrenaline, because that's just the situation you're in, the circumstances you're in, eventually that's all your brain will know to do. It'll keep the adrenaline turned on because it's used to that. In other words, if that's your response to everything, the brain says, I got it. We'll just do that. It's the shortcut. So that's something. Now the thing about anxiety is that, we can talk about anxiety in a neurological term, which I always think helps people if we look at the neuroscience of it. Anxiety is what happens when your amygdala, which is a little almond-shaped part of your limbic system in your brain, and it acts as the lookout, kind of like the guy on the bridge with this telescope. And when it perceives that there's a possible danger to the body and mind, it yells to the hypothalamus, danger, danger. And then the hypothalamus says, okay, all systems go. And it pushes the red button and boom, your kidneys immediately send out that adrenaline. And the cortisol starts to go through. And now your big muscle groups, the blood is pumping to your big muscle groups so you can be ready to fight or flee an enemy, right? It's all about danger. It goes back to evolution, right? When we use, Maggie pointed out to me recently that it's only recently that we're not somewhere in the middle of the food chain, right? Years ago, we weren't at the top. Now we're at the top of the food chain. So life is a lot easier in terms of survival for most of us, right? Most of us who are fortunate. The back in cave people days, you could be somebody's lunch very easily. So the brain evolved with one job, and the job was to protect you from danger. So your amygdala is your early warning system, okay? So all of us, when, let's just say, if you step into your backyard and a snake slithers across your path, you're going to have that startle response. Your adrenaline is going to start pumping. Your heart's going to start racing. Why? Because we don't know if we're in real danger. I mean, if it's a rattlesnake or a cobra, it could be real danger, right? We don't know right away whether it's a garden snake or just a toy. We just know, snake, that could be danger. That's your amygdala's job. In somebody with an anxiety disorder, the amygdala tends to be trigger happy. And the amygdala tends to yell out danger at moments when there's not really a threat.
Gotcha.
Which is why you could be standing in the grocery line, minding your own business, and suddenly you're sweaty, your heart is racing, you're feeling dizzy, and you're wondering, oh my God, do I need to go to the emergency room here?
Yeah.
And it ends up being anxiety. That's your amygdala tripped everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
For whatever reason. It perceived danger, even though there wasn't any. So that's sort of the scientific explanation of what anxiety is. And stress does cause that anxiety response, right? Like if you're under stress, then your heart might beat faster, your blood pressure will go up. All the things will happen as if you were being chased by an enemy or if you were fighting for your life.
Yeah.
Does that make it clear?
No, it does. I love it. And I'm glad you explained it. Yeah, because you're like, oh, okay, now I get it. You know, that's what's happening. And I think it's very helpful. So then let's piggyback on that.
Okay.
What should you do when somebody is having a panic attack? And I got a lot of questions from parents when their kid is having a panic attack or their husband or their wife. What should you do?
Well, the Anxiety Sister Survival Guide is full of ideas of what to do, and we'll give you some here. And
good. Oh, great. So you what to do not just when you're having it, but what to do with someone else.
The reason we say this is only because there's not like different things help different people, and so that's why we made our survival guide have so many different ideas.
Great,
right?
Great.
You know, we always say one size doesn't fit all, and one size may not fit you day to day from one day to the next. Right. So you need to have a pretty big toolbox. And so one thing that has helped many people is that we have a panic button on our website. And it's on every page of our website, which is anxietysisters.com, and you press it, it's like a little red button, and it says help, I'm having a panic attack, right? And it's basically a recording of Abbe kind of talking you through the panic attack. And I've seen kids use it, I've seen teens use it, and adults.
It's free, and we have no idea who pushes it. We just know that it gets pushed 1,700 times a week.
Yes.
Yes. So you can do it on your phone. You can do it on your computer.
That was my next thing. Can they do it on their phone? Because they could be in the middle of a store.
Yeah.
And then we recommend, if you're either with people who have a lot of panic attacks or you're the one having the panic attack, you really prepare. And we call this a spin kit. You're better at explaining the spin kit. Do you want to explain it?
You're so lazy. She makes me explain the spin
I'll
kit.
explain the spin kit if you want. But
you can whatever.
Okay, so spin kit is our term for a first aid kit for anxiety.
Okay.
So if you have an allergy, you would carry an EpiPen?
Yeah.
Okay, if you have anxiety or if your child has anxiety, you want to carry a spin kit. And what goes in a spin kit? 3 types of things. And like Maggie said, one size doesn't fit all. So everyone's spin kit's going to look different, right? What's going to be in your spin kit will be different from what's in mine because different things soothe different people. But we have 3 types of things that you want to have in your spin kit. One is you want to have a distractor.
Okay.
You want to have 1 or 2 choices of things just to keep your mind slightly occupied while you're experiencing the panic. Because the truth is that you can't fight panic. It's kind of like being in a riptide. Can't fight the riptide, right? No matter how strong a swimmer you are, Michael Phelps doesn't fight a riptide. You have to swim with it until it releases you. Same thing is true for panic. The more you fight it, the more intense it's going to feel, right? Because what we pay attention to grows. So if we're thinking about our symptoms, they're going to grow. So a distractor gets you off the symptoms for a bit. You're still going to feel that discomfort of anxiety, but you're going to be doing something also. So Maggie in her spin kit keeps crochet needles and some kind of crochet yarn.
So got it.
And that keeps her busy. You know, that's something where it's not so much thought that she has to
brain power.
Yeah, you don't need to concentrate. Like I couldn't. You maybe wouldn't want to do a crossword puzzle. That might be too much.
No.
You know, now I have a fidget spinner. I have one of those ones with lights and everything that, you know, I'm like, ooh, shiny things. So, you know, or a kaleidoscope is sometimes really cool. I keep pictures of my cats in my spin kit because they're very soothing to me.
For children, keep some bubbles, or adults, keep some bubbles in the spin kit, because not only does that give them something to do, but you're actually teaching them some breathing. They're starting to slow down their respiration so you can keep bubbles for children. Great one.
So something to distract you. And then you want to have symptom relief, right? So if you have, let's just say you get an upset stomach when you're anxious, which is very true of a lot of people, maybe in your spin kit you have Tums or Gas X, or Maggie keeps ginger tea in hers because that really settles her stomach.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you get migraines or really bad headaches when you have anxiety. So you might want to keep your Excedrin or your Advil or your Tylenol in your spin kit. Maybe you have a sedative like a benzodiazepine like Ativan or Xanax.
Yeah.
Whatever your symptom relief is for your particular symptoms, you want to keep it with you so that you have it at the ready.
If you're someone who gets really hot during a panic attack, which I do, you can keep a cooling cloth, one of those cloths.
Yeah.
Where you
Yeah.
That kind of thing too is very helpful.
And then the third thing you want to have in the kit is what we call sensory soother, which also acts as a grounding agent. When we're panicky, we very often feel like we're sort of disoriented and floating outside of ourselves, right? It feels very disorienting to be panicking. So grounding tools and sensory tools help us keep our feet on the ground and bring us back into the present moment. And so things you can use for grounding would be, like Maggie said, a cool cloth, right? Or anything to soothe your senses. Maybe like for me, I like to have like the cranberry rescue remedy, box rescue remedy in cranberry. I like the taste of that. It's a strong taste. And it keeps me grounded. Or mints, very strong mints, right? If you have that in your mouth, you're not going to be thinking about anything other than that mint that's very strong in your mouth. Or maybe there's a smell that you like. Gardenia, lavender.
Those essential oils.
Yeah, I love lavender.
Whatever you want to smell, or a fabric, or music, whatever works for you. And that's going to be, as we said, that's going to be different for all of us.
Right.
Sort of.
Yeah.
So you want to have at least one thing from each of those categories, so that this way, if you're feeling panicky and you pull out your fidget spinner and you think to yourself, you know what, that does not look like it's going to help this time, then you have a backup. So I always say get 2 of everything so that you can change it up and carry it with you. Maggie used a Ziploc forever. I used to be like, come on, you could be a little more sporty, a little more glam than that. Those cosmetic bags, whatever, something you can carry with you that has your spin kit in it. And this way, when the panic hits, you are so ready that you take away all of the intensity, because you know what panic's good at? Sneaking up on people.
Yeah.
So if you have a spin kit, it can't sneak up on you. You're not going to say, oh my God, why is this happening? You're going to say, oh, all right, here's my spin kit. I know what to do.
And just like as a parent, we
I love it.
Many, many things for our kids as parents, right? When they were little, you like pack the Cheerios and the this and the that.
I carried a diaper bag till my kids were like 10.
Yeah, you carry all that stuff. If you have an anxious child, start experimenting with some stuff that feels soothing. Sometimes it's their favorite music.
I'm thinking, I wish I would have met you guys earlier when my kid was younger and knew about the spin kit. The one thing besides breathing that I knew worked for my son, it was me acting like an idiot. If I would be, and he would be in a store or something, and I would start dancing, it for some reason relaxed him.
That's great.
That's wonderful.
That is wonderful.
I mean, that's all. I didn't know what, at the time I just did, but I knew it worked. So I think.
So what listeners, let's keep it real, listeners, what Sandy Joy is saying is that she is a walking spin kit, and you can take her with you wherever you go.
But if you could see the times in the store, I'd be it would get the attention off him. You know what I mean?
Well, part of the reason that we got so interested in spin kits is if you have children who have sensory issues, you're going to have children that panic more. And I did. And so there were all sorts of little tools that they have for sensory issues.
Yeah.
Like weighted blankets.
Yes.
Those fidget, little things to fidget with or touch. Yeah. And we become very aware that certain textures are not helpful.
Absolutely.
So all of that sensory stuff is very similar for people who suffer from anxiety. We sort of believe that a lot of us who have a lot of anxiety have a lot of sensory issues going in. We believe we're more likely to have them.
Yeah.
And then certainly everyone, when they're having anxiety, almost everyone gets sensory issues because, like Abby said before, the job of your brain is to keep you safe, right? And to be hyper vigilant. And when we're in that hyper vigilant mode, our senses are smelling everything, seeing everything, reacting to everything.
Yeah.
So, the sensory stuff becomes very important.
Yeah.
I think it's a very important way to deal with panic
And we
attacks.
also believe that soothing is not an intellectual pursuit. It's a
Yeah.
whole body pursuit. So if you are putting a cool cloth on your neck, then that's sending signals to your whole body that everything is okay.
Yeah. All right. I could talk to you guys forever, ever.
No, sorry. And we're talky.
No, you got, this is great. This is great stuff. And I apologize, people, but you could reach out to them. We'll give you all that information. But I do want to get this one question in because it's not something I'm familiar with and I heard, and you just were touching on it. This woman has always had an issue with the texture of food. Now, this is a whole thing she sent me, but she gets anxiety about eating something, afraid of what it's going to feel like in her mouth, to the point it could cause her anxiety. Someone says, try this. Let me read. She says, people say, just try it, just try it. She could work herself up into a panic attack. And have you ever heard of that? And it's from trying foods and the texture of foods.
Absolutely.
It's a very common, it's actually a common thing.
And it's
there you go.
I mean,
We'll call her Betty Boop.
I am not saying in any way that she has any autism, but it's such a common thing in the autism community where kids are really, or adults really can't eat.
Or if you have sensory issues.
So it's like it's a sensory piece. I'm not
saying she's 32 and she said she's had this her whole life.
Yeah, it's such a common, it's something you see a lot in the autism community, but you cannot have autism. You cannot have autism and have this because it's a sensory issue.
Yeah, and I don't know if she does or not, but go ahead.
So, I mean, depending on how she decides to go forward with it, if it's impacting her in ways that are too hard, there's tons of often occupational therapists or speech therapists who do feeding therapy.
Oh.
And part of feeding therapy is not just to learn how to chew for some kids, but it's also to start to expand your textures and your sense of being able to try things. Now, maybe that's not important for her, and that really sort of she has her food she can eat, and it's really a matter of staying with them. It just depends on the person.
No, she would like to try. She feels like she's missing out.
Yeah. Yeah. Then, I mean, one of the things she might want to do is contact like a speech therapist.
Oh, never would have thought of that.
And see if they've done any kind of feeding therapy.
There's also swallow therapists who may do that.
Yeah, she may not need a swallow.
Right, but some swallow therapists do that. They did that with my mother-in-law with the textures.
Yeah, I mean.
So it's all the texture. It's all like what it's going to feel like.
Well, it depends. Some people are doing how do you swallow, and some are doing, how do you chew, but some are also really doing much more, if she explains it to them, like much more textures.
Yeah.
And kind of, they basically do a form of exposure therapy that she could also try herself. Yeah. She's like, trying one new thing in a tiny bit and something that's a little more similar to something she's already eating.
Yeah, baby steps, and just go with that until that feels comfortable, and then go up a little bit more. In other words, it's sort of like with fear of flying. We tell people, you start with just sitting on it. You don't start with flying the first time. They sit on the plane. Yeah. Get off the plane. In other words, really tiny steps.
Yeah. Well, Betty Boop, I think you definitely have to join the community and get the book, because she didn't know anybody else that has this. So she was thinking, I know I'm not going to die, but I feel like I'm going to if I eat.
Yes, no, it's very real.
It's very, very real.
There are people who feel like they're eating rocks. Like we always tell parents, be very careful. That whole thing of like, well, if that's the only thing on their plate, they'll eat it eventually. That's like the whole philosophy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and for some kids, I know that's fine. Yeah. And for other kids,
it's with sensory issues that is not going to work.
Right. Like my son would have starved before he ate something.
Yeah.
Also because he didn't really feel hunger. So, you really have to be careful with that. So definitely there's a lot of different types of therapy.
Yeah. And it's much more common than she thinks.
Yeah. Yay, community. All right, ladies, I hate to say this. We have to go. It's been great.
We understand.
I loved it. We had a blast. I really, truly feel as if my audience is going to benefit from this so much. My Let's Keep It Real people, come on. They kept it real and then some. I know you're going to want to share it, like it, rate it. We appreciate it. But before we go, how can they find you? How can they reach you? You've mentioned it throughout, but I want to make sure we have it again.
Sure. Our website is www.anxietysisters.com. Our book is the Anxiety Sister Survival Guide, and you can get it anywhere you buy books. It's published by a division of Random House. We have a Facebook page at Anxiety Sisters. Instagram is The Anxiety Sisters.
The Anxiety Sisters.
We have a podcast called The Spin Cycle with the Anxiety Sisters. And we have an email, absandmags@anxietysisters.com, which you can find on our website. And if you email us, we answer every email, every
private message, every direct message. We answer it all. It takes a few days now, but we do answer everything.
Yeah.
So you have a question or you just want some support, give us a shout.
Cool. I really appreciate you. I feel like I'm interrupting your vacation, right? You guys are hanging out.
This is not a vacation.
Oh.
We're not on vacation.
We're working.
We're working, so it's we're so grateful not to be writing right now.
I know. We're like, can we do another hour podcast so that we don't have to write?
So wait, are you writing another book? Are you writing a blog?
We're starting our second book.
Yeah,
very really starting it. So we're like, in fact, we scrapped yesterday completely the book we thought we were going to write. So we're in that early stage.
I get it. Well, have fun, ladies. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I just want to say, I'm so appreciative of what you're doing in the world.
We appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you're putting this out in the world and impacting so many people and sharing your stories. So I really appreciate it.
And we love Philly girls.
I know, that's what I was going to say. I think we just are like really attracted to the Philly part.
Yeah.
You know, like you're very cool.
Yes. And she
in your face, cool. You know, like.
In your face, cool. That's what we like.
And she probably says she calls bagels.
Bagels, yeah.
Bagels, yeah. Yeah.
Water. It is what it is.
Yeah, I can't do it anymore. I used to.
All right. You know what I'm going to say until next time.
Keep it real.
I love that. I should say keep it real. I always say toodles.